Today's the day we get your site 100% ready to launch. Are you excited? I know that I am. Hopefully you've had fun on this journey of launching your Showit website in just 4 days. Hey, if you're new to this whole experience, there's 2 other videos that you might want to go back and look over. On day 1, we talked about how to do the prep work. We did a little bit of an inventory on the template that we are going to be adjusting for our website. And then on day 2, we talked about how to change out the content in the template, how to find images on a website called Pexels, and then also how to help build copy with the helps of ChatGPT. In today's video, we're gonna be working on our services page and our contact page. And I'm also gonna show you how to create a pop-up modal that will act as a contact form in case anybody wants to get in touch with us. So I'm here on my services page, and I'm just gonna start making some adjustments to it. I'm actually gonna come through and do a little bit of content changes so you can just kind of see a little bit more of what I do in the process of building out a website. So this services page used to be called programs because we're editing a fitness template to be used for a web design company. And that's the beauty of Showit templates, is that no matter what the purpose of it was built for originally was, we can customize it according to our specific needs. So I'm gonna come through and I'm just gonna say services. And then I've got a few of the things that are actually like links to the different sections here. And I don't need all of these because my services don't have that many. So if I just come over to the actual website, you'll see if I click on this, it'll scroll me down to the different sections. And then when I click on this button, an intake form pops up. So we want to do that same thing, but we want it to be for our web design company. So I'm going to come back through and tell it what I need it to be. So we'll say that this one is web design, we'll say branding, and we'll say messaging. Cool. And we actually don't need this 4th one. So I'm just going to take that out, and then I might center all of these up right here to where it looks like it was done intentionally. Let's bring that up just a little bit. And then I'm actually going to go through on this recovery section and just delete that there. Okay. So now we've got all our different sections. I can come through and I can rename them in the canvas settings here. So instead of personal training, I can say web design. And then instead of group classes, I can say, oh, we don't want an element name. We're going to say branding. And then instead of nutrition coaching, it's going to be messaging. So there we go. Now we're starting to get all squared away. So let's come through and change out these headers here. So this one is web design. That's looking good. This one is branding. Now we're going from 2 words to 1 word. So I can either make it 2 words, or I can just bring it down and just kind of make this a little bit smaller. Let's do this. Let's take all of these and just kind of bring it up a tad bit. And we'll make this image just a little bit smaller and bring up the height of this canvas to make it a little bit smaller on that side as well. And then I have a sense that we're going to have to do that here as well. And this might need to be a little bit smaller. So, okay, we might be able to get all of the words on one line so that they can be really consistent as you go down that page. So I'll take this, and instead of it being 300 pixels, let's just say 250. I think that's great. We'll do the same here on this second section. And then if I think if we bring this one down to 250, it'll be 1 line. And sure enough, it is. So, all right, so let's go ahead and bring this up. Just eyeball it a little bit and make sure it's all spaced out evenly. Bring up this image. Okay, and then bring up this canvas height. We already did it on that guy. Now we just needed to do it for this section as well. Okay, so make sure it's all spacing. The thing that I look for here is, I'm just gonna make this text box a tad bit smaller. The thing that I look for here is there about the same amount of spacing between the bottom of this word and the top of this line of text, and the same as the top of this word and the next canvas. So if that looks about the same, then you know it's kind of even and we're good to go. I don't come through, like I know some designers who will create rectangles and they'll, you know, make it to where it's exactly the same size. So they'll come through and say like, okay, let's make sure that this is here, and I'll scroll in a little bit. And then they'll bring this up and go, let's see. Oh, okay, so this needs to be a little bit further. So if I go down like that, and then let's turn off snapping so it's not doing that. Canvas, enable snapping, there we go. So if I pull this down and bring that down, then I'm gonna pull all of this down to where the top of that O is touching the bottom of this. So that's how some folks do it. That's not how I do it. You can do what you want to with that, but it's kind of your call. Okay, then I'll bring this up a little bit and make the canvas height a little bit smaller. So I think that that is looking good. But one of the cool things about Showit is that you actually have a different look on your mobile side of things than you do on your desktop side of things. So we've just got to come through and make sure that everything is looking good on the mobile side as well. So I'll come through, bring this down, because remember we got rid of this one line, and I'm gonna make this text be a little bit bigger. Okay, there we go. That down a little bit. Okay, and here's where it was 2 lines. It's gonna be hard to make this all on one line, but we'll see what we can do. So let's say if we bring this down to 50, what happens? It's still a pretty big word for a desk or a mobile screen. Come back through, make this 50, see what happens. Oh, okay, cool. We're all on one line, and I think we have a little bit of space. I like making words as big as possible. So let's see how big we can get this. If I get it up to 70, is that gonna do it? All right, let's see if we can do it all on one line as well. Oh, nope, we can't with the 60. So bring this down. How about 65? Let's split the difference. There we go. That's looking good. Now, something you can do on Showit is something called special paste. So if you have something that you like the formatting of it and you want to put that on other elements, similar elements, so like text for text, image for image, all that kind of stuff, what you can do is select the element that you like the formatting of. So right, I've got a size of 65 pixels, and I do Command C or copy. And then I come down here, which is 70 pixels in size, and I do Command or Windows, Shift, and then V. And then it'll paste the formatting of that other element that you liked. It saves you a whole bunch of time so you don't have to go through and like fine tune every single thing. So, okay, let's go through now and just make sure the layout is looking good. So I'll do all that here. Let's bring this up. Bring these guys up as well. And then sometimes if I know I'm gonna be pulling everything up, I'll just come over here and select the very top element and then go to the very last one while holding Shift, and then I click the bottom one, and then it'll select all the elements there. That way I don't have to, do them one by one or like click and drag, because sometimes that can be a little bit of a mess. So let's do that on the messaging side as well. Cool, that's looking good. And now we are good to go. Let's just do this a little bit so we can have proper spacing. Like good. I might come through and just kind of fine tune a little bit, but for now, I think we're good to move on to the next step, which is adding a little bit of our content. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this URL and I'm gonna come through to ChatGPT and ask it to give me specific copy for each sections. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is take this prompt that I gave it above here. And I'll say, all right, so here's another page I'm making copy for. Take that out, put it in, and let's just do the first section underneath programs. I need a paragraph that talks about my services. Give me a few options. Okay, let's see what it says. Cool. I don't like this first option because this sounds a lot like what's on our homepage in the hero section, but I do like this one. It's very them focused. A lot of times what I see in websites is folks who kind of make it all about themselves rather than making it about the people that they're trying to serve. You want them to be the star of the show and you're just a helpful guide. So I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna put it into this section here. Might be a little bit longer, but that's okay, because we can always just make it bigger. Pull this down, and then we are good to go. Let's look at it at the desktop side of things. Still pretty good. I think I might take this like this. I might make this a little bit bigger so the wordings look kind of good. It's just a little bit of nitpickiness at this point in time, but thankfully with Showit, you can be nitpicky. Now, let's say I wanted to center this up to the entire page. What I'm gonna do is make these text bounding boxes on these text elements a little bit smaller. And then I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna center it to the canvas. So you can see if I select all of it, up there at the very top on alignment where it says align to canvas, I'm just gonna click that middle button and it'll make it exactly center. So for all the folks who things have to be perfectly centered, this is like your dream come true. Okay, so now let's figure out how to change this section down here, because we've got a little bit more complicated of a section where we've got some steps in our process that are bulleted. We need a little bit of information. So I'm gonna say, let's take this personal training section and reword it to be all about my web design services. So I'm gonna say, give me a brief description. I'm gonna say, give me a few steps of a process. I'm gonna fill out that cost portion and then give a final call to action little snippet. So we'll do that over here in good old ChatGPT. Let's move to the next section. On the section that says personal training, let's change it to web design. I need a brief description of my services. I need a bullet pointed list of my process, final call to action sentence, similar to the template. And let's just copy and paste that so it has it again. Sometimes you gotta just like gently remind it, like, hey, remember this is what we were talking about? And I think I have to press this internet search option right here just to let it know that it's actually a website. Cool. This is looking good. I think I want to remove these because we don't need a really in-depth section right here. Like it can just be bulleted, bam, 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 bam. But I think everything else is looking pretty good. So I'll just come through and start piecing this together. Cool, that's exactly the amount of wordings we needed. Take this and change that guy and go through and do all of these other ones. Now, in all actuality, you probably have a process with which you take folks through. So you're not necessarily going to have ChatGPT like write all this stuff out for you, but it can be helpful. It can be helpful to have it do a lot of this stuff without having to really think about it. So this is going to be 4,000 to 10. And then we'll take this final little call to action sentence and that start with a phone call. All right, let's see how that is looking on the mobile side of things. So I'm liking that. Let's just move this over here. And it's got a little more space underneath this that I want to just kind of short up. Make that W capitalized. And then I actually want to move this underneath there. And then I think we're good to go on the mobile side of things. So from this point, I would just keep going down the list. And anytime I need a new photo, I would just come through to Pexels and try to find one that would work for me. Take it through, compress it a little bit with ImageOptim, ask ChatGPT to give me an alt tag, and we're good to go. But now we want to kind of just walk through the user journey. Like, what are we hoping that the users will do? Well, if they're on this page and they're looking at my services, I'm wanting them to go, okay, click that, and then an intake form pops up and they begin to fill out the information. Now, you can see here, I don't need the information that a fitness professional would need, right? I don't need their height and their weight. It'd be kind of a weird question for a web design agency to ask somebody who's filling out an intake form. So let's go through and just kind of make some of these changes. You'll actually find most of your modal pop-ups down at the very bottom of a page. So let me just kind of run you through how this all works, because it can be a little bit confusing. So first thing I'm gonna do is actually hit preview, and then preview is gonna give me this link right here. And I can just click on that link and it's gonna pop up in another tab, right? So now I can see the web page as it would actually look. So if you scroll down, you'll see that that little intake form isn't down there, right? It's actually hidden. So that is a setting on this form. I gotta click through a few times, that if you go to Canvas, you'll see this selection, hidden to start, meaning it's not showing when you first hit the web page. But what we want to happen is when somebody hits this button, that canvas pops up, like it becomes visible. And we don't want it to just be visible down here where it is. We want it to actually be at the very top of the browser and just kind of scroll along with people, right? So you can see I've got this and it just kind of scrolls with me. So there's a few settings to make sure that that happens. First, we've got hidden to start. So it's not showing when you first hit the page, but it's also the entire window height. So what that means is when somebody's looking at this page, it's the entire height of the screen. So it's gonna take up the entire screen. We want that because we want this to be something that people see, and there's not like a little bit of piece under here that's kind of peeking through. So it's taking up the entire window height. The other thing that we want it to do is make sure that it's sticking to the top. And that's what happens when we scroll, right? It's always sticking to the top of the web browser, no matter where I go. So the only other thing that we need, if I come back to the services page, is we need to create a trigger when somebody clicks this button. The way to do that is to select this text, go to click actions, and then we're gonna add an action, right? So this is what it would look like if you're doing this for the first time. But we're gonna add an action, say show this canvas, and then we'll say general intake, right? So now, whenever somebody clicks on this, it's going to pop that window up above everything. And you can do that for any type of element, right? Like if we wanted to make this little $4,000 to $10,000, I would just come through and say show, and then general intake form. Now, if I preview this and scroll down, I click that and it now pops up. So you can make anything into a button. We don't want that, so I'm gonna undo that. But let's go through and just make a few changes so you can see how to set up a form. And this is the same type of thing that you're gonna do on your contact form page. You're gonna adjust it and then make sure that it functions correctly, right? So there's a few things that I don't need, right? I don't need their height and their weight. So I'll just come through and say, let's get that out of there. Let's get rid of these underlines that are right here. Fill out this form and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. So I think I can make this a little bit bigger on the line height so it's just kind of filling out that entire section. So now I'll go back and just kind of show you what I did because I might have moved kind of fast on that. So in order to make this fill out, I just selected it. And then over here on line height, if you see, I just can move it up to where the words are kind of squishing together or they've got a little bit more breathing room. So that's much more for a visual component, just so that it lays out and it feels nice. So let's take this. And I am going to lock this in because I want to select all this other thing. So remember how to do that. We hit Command and L. And then I'm going to take these things right here, move this up. Ooh, and it looks like I also want to lock in this little opaque rectangle that's kind of covering up the background so people can focus. Pull this up to here. So instead of age, let's say business. Okay, and then let's move this up to here. Tell me about your project. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Okay, so we've got all the fields selected, and hopefully your template is gonna have all of this worked out for you. But just in case, let me show you some of the logic behind contact forms within Showit. So I've got all of my fields set up as a text element. So these are all text elements. But then over in text properties, we're gonna click enable input, right? So what that does is that turns this into a form field. And then I can tell it whether or not it's required. I can put this in the subject line of the email that's gonna be sent to me, right? So if I want the name to be in the subject line of the email that I'm getting, then I would add that there. Also with the email as well. And so I don't have email in the subject line because that's kind of a weird thing to put into a subject line. Let's see what else I've got here. I don't have the business name. We don't have the phone number. All of that's good. And so then I've got the different things that I can label it as, just so that we know what I'm looking at whenever I get that email. So let's change this label to be phone. Or nope, that's business. Go back over here to text properties, business, phone, email, and name. That's all looking good. Okay, so what happens when somebody clicks submit? Well, you go from this canvas view, you can see over here we've got a canvas view, to this canvas view. So we know that when somebody fills out this form and they click submit, it's gonna go from this canvas view to this one. So ask yourself the question, is this what I want people to see when they fill out a form? And I think that this is looking pretty good. Expect a reply within a few business days. But let's say within 24 hours. Cool. All right, now you know what we gotta do. We gotta make sure it's all looking good on the mobile side of things. So it looks like we need to move these guys up a little bit. So I'll pull on this and I'm just gonna pull this up. Now what I'm doing, I don't use my mouse all the time to move stuff. Like if I know something's gonna stay right in line, you can use your arrow key to go up and down, but to do a lot of hits on that doesn't really make sense. So something you can do to make it move a little faster is actually hit Shift and then go up and down, and it'll make bigger jumps. So just a little bit of insider tip for you there. So let me bring this all the way down here and just make sure that this is all looking good. That looks fantastic. So from there, we'll hit preview. Now let's just make sure it's all showing up the way that we want it to. So we'll start with a phone call. How's that looking? That's looking great. Fill out this form and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. I think this is looking fantastic. So now let's go and just make sure everything's looking good on our contact page. And I think we're ready to wrap this puppy up. So there's not gonna be a ton of information for me to change on here, but for sure, something to look over. Any page that's going live, you wanna make sure that you look at it at least a few times. Now, again, if something goes live and it's not perfect, you can always come back in and fix it after the fact. Oftentimes, I launch a website and then I'll be looking through it a few days later and I'll go, oh, I need to go and fix that. So just know even professional people are coming back through and making changes after the fact. So don't feel like for sure you have to make these different changes. I don't think I want my address and my phone number on the website, so I'm actually just going to remove that. And then I am going to move this form up a little bit to take out some of that dead space. And then if we do that, we also know that we need to move the message received canvas view as well. So let me just pull this up here. And let me make sure I've got enough space there. Oh yeah, kind of covered up that yellow button. And then we are ready to go. I think that's looking pretty good. Let's check the desktop side of things. Got a little bit of an adjustment to make. Not too bad though. Bring this puppy up. All right. Move that up to where it's a little bit more center. I think that we are cooking. Cool. Hopefully this gets you really excited. We are literally this close to going live. Tomorrow, we're gonna have some support pros that are going to be answering your questions and also helping you connect your URL to your new Showit website. That's something you're going to need in order to go live. You need an active subscription and you need to own your own domain. So make sure that you've got that all set up and ready to go, and go through these pages a few times. Like even as I was going through some of this stuff, I noticed like, oh, I actually forgot to go through on the mobile side on the homepage and make those changes. So I've got to go back through and kind of get all that working and ready to go. But take some time, go through this stuff. You've got ChatGPT, you've got all the tools available, but don't feel like it's got to be perfect. You're going to perfect it over time. The whole point is get a site launched, get a site out there so you can have something up and running for people to go and see just how awesome you are. I'm excited to see your new website and I can't wait to connect with you tomorrow. We'll see you then.